back to Self-Advocacy Matters. And today we are talking about a woman whose act of resistance was so quiet, it made the whole country loud. And no, I'm not talking about a giant megaphone that could broadcast across the entire globe. I don't think we have that sort of loud technology yet. But we are talking about a woman who sat down so others could stand up. But that's only the beginning. This is the real story of Rosa Parks, activist, strategist, a lifelong fighter for justice, and absolutely not, and I can't stress this enough, not just some tired lady on a bus. Rosa Louise Macaulay Parks was born on February 4th, 1913 in Tuscany, Alabama. Yep, the same town known for Tuscany University and sadly, for some of America's medical horror stories. She grew up in the Jim Crow South, where separate but equal was more like separate and absolutely not. Tuscany? Tuskegee. Okay. Well, either way, from a young age, she saw racism baked into everything: schools, drinking fountains, and even which books black children were allowed to read. Spoiler: just like me, they usually got the leftovers. By the time she was a teenager, Rosa was already over it. She once said that she remembered watching the Klan march down her street as a kid and her grandfather sitting on the porch with a shotgun in his lap, just in case. So yeah, Rosa grew up knowing how real the fight was. She eventually became a seamstress, a skilled one. But her real superpower wasn't sewing a needle, it was her spine. She joined the NAACP. That's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in 1943. Yep, long before the bus. She was the secretary, which in those days really meant everything person. Jack of all trades. Organizer, note taker, strategist, and sometimes the only woman in the room. Basically, Rosa was the project manager for civil rights before LinkedIn even existed. Okay, here comes the famous moment. On December 1st, 1955, and Rosa is riding the Cleveland Avenue bus in Montgomery, Alabama after work. She's sitting in the colored section, but the white section fills up. The driver tells her and three other black passengers to give up their seats. Three of them move. Rosa? Kicks back, margarita in hand, blatantly says no. No, I'm kidding. She stays put. Now, here's the thing. She wasn't the first black woman to do this. Others had done it before. Claudia Colvin, Mary Louise Smith. But Parks was strategically chosen to be the face of the protest because she had a strong reputation, a deep commitment to nonviolence, and let's be honest, she didn't blink when racism showed up. But she wasn't angry. Oh, she was, let me try that again. She was arrested, taken to jail, mugshot and all. But she wasn't angry. She was focused. People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired, she later wrote. But that isn't true. I wasn't tired physically. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in. Don't exactly have a mic, but after Rosa's arrest, the Montgomery bus boycott kicked off. You remember that from the last episode. Martin Luther King Jr. becomes a spokesperson. The whole black community stops riding the buses, and suddenly Montgomery's public transit system is bleeding money like a leaky tire. Yeah, that happened. People carpooled, walked miles, rode mules, took bikes, basically anything but the bus. And Rosa? She kept organizing quietly in the background. Even after she lost her job, received death threats, and faced financial hardship, because real talk, Uber wasn't around, and these folks walked in the rain and the Alabama heat for 381 days. Gosh, that's a long time to be walking. The Supreme Court eventually ruled bus segregation unconstitutional, and just like that, the boycott worked. Well, not just like that, but it worked. And Rosa's quiet courage became a symbol that spread around the world. Here's what most textbooks don't tell you. Rosa didn't just ride off into the sunset after a boycott. She and her husband, Raymond Parks, actually had to move to Detroit because being a national symbol of defiance didn't exactly come with job security or a thank you fruit basket. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd appreciate the fruit basket, but that's just me. Anyway, even in Detroit, she kept fighting for housing justice, criminal justice reform, and against police brutality. In fact, she worked for Congressman John Connors for Conyers. I think that's how you pronounce it. For over 20 years. That's right. She clocked in at a day job. Meanwhile, I need a nap just from folding laundry. She also co-founded the Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute for Self-Development, dedicated to helping young people become tomorrow's leaders. Just in case you thought she was going to sit still. She continued to speak, organize, and show up at protests well into her 80s. Rosa Parks didn't slow down. She just got more focused. Now, Rosa Parks passed away on October 4th, 2005 at the age of 92. That's a long life. She became the first woman in U.S. history to lie in honor at the Capitol Rotunda, a space usually reserved for presidents and generals. Think about that. A woman who was once kicked off a bus became someone the nation literally lined up to salute. Today, her name is on schools, streets, museums, even an asteroid. Yep, no, seriously. Yep, there is a chunk of rock hurling through space named Rosa Parks. So technically, if you think about it, she's still moving. But her true legacy isn't in statues or street signs or even a flying rock through space. It's the people who sit down, speak up, and refuse to be moved by injustice. It's in the power of one moment to shift the world. So that's it for today's episode. Rosa Parks taught us that you don't have to shout to spark a revolution. Sometimes all it takes is sitting down with purpose. Thanks for listening. And remember, you must never be fearful about what you're doing when it's right. Catch you next time. Stay bold, stay grounded, and if someone tells you to give up your seat, ask them why they think you don't deserve it. Also, just saying, if Rosa Parks were around today and someone told her to move over on a crowded bus, she'd probably say, "I paid my fare and changed history. You can stand."